G'day, folks. Due to popular demand, today I thought I'd put together an AFL fantasy team and release it to you all to, I guess, judge and take a look at. So, um, yeah, before going through this exercise, look, I haven't seen what other people have produced, so this may be a slightly unique team. I don't know. I guess I'll find out with some of the comments below. And another disclaimer as well is in the past year, I watched not so much as a second of junior football. So do be mindful that my knowledge is still in 2022, I suppose. So do be mindful of that. But yeah, with that said, look, I will have still some knowledge of some of the juniors and some of the mature ages. So I guess that's a bit of what to expect. But yeah, my history with fantasy football is I tend to make really good starting teams, but yeah, over the course of the year, in terms of trades, look, I just don't pay enough attention, and yeah, I'm a terrible trader. So yeah, look, there might be something that you pick up from this video, and who knows, maybe I have a unique that you hadn't considered, or maybe that you should, or maybe I've got some rookie ideas that may suit your team. Who knows? But anyway, let's get into it. So to go through my team, so here's my remaining salary cap. That's just how the cookies landed, I suppose. Starting off, I went with Dacos. Look, obviously pricey, but he's worth the price tag. Is his average going down next year? Well, I don't know. I wouldn't expect so. There's no reason it should. He's still young, going into his third year. Probably holds level would be my best guess. So I think he's a good hold, particularly at that price, if he can maintain or maybe slightly increase his average. So that's something to be aware of. Young I went with because late in the season his numbers boosted, and it seems with a bit more of midfield opportunity that his numbers have gone north. So that's the sort of thing I'm looking for, and yeah, hopefully he continues to increase on his average in this next year. So again, being a higher price type, improving average, well, ultimately that's what you want. And similar story with Kadeen Coleman. I noticed that with Daniel Rich, once he was out of the team, we saw Coleman's numbers increase, and particularly over the finals, just put up huge numbers. So to me personally, he's a bit undervalued. Heath Chapman, for me, is underpriced. I think he'll be best 22 this year, and he'll play the halfback or wing, would be my expectations. So underpriced, should make money. Zach Williams, very cheap. Have to assess if his health, see if he's round one ready. And I should also note as well, haven't read a preseason report. For all I know, some of these players might be out for the year. So do let me know if that is the case, because that's entirely possible. Marty Hoare, so previously Melbourne listed, has come back to Melbourne. And it's simply on the back of he's been absolutely producing in the VFL. So during his stint with Melbourne, look, he did have lots of injuries, which really held him back. But yeah, really good footballer and genuine best 22 chance would be my immediate thoughts. So if there's any injuries in Melbourne's defence, Marty Hoare should be the first in, essentially, would be my thinking. And yeah, look, he's been putting up numbers. So that's exactly what you want in your fantasy teams. Great inset marker, can generate some drive too, for a bit of a feel for his game. Dan Curtin, look, pricier than I'd like. But yeah, as a key defender, can go through the midfield. Very athletic for his height, good skills, great interceptor, so he'll find the footy. And in Adelaide's defence, look, I don't see why he's not best 22. Who's playing ahead of him? I think he could be Adelaide's best key defender, honestly, in a couple of years. So yeah, good footballer, should have gone earlier in the draft, was my thinking. Without having seen what he did last year. And Sam Clohesy, so we'll have to see. But yeah, mature ager, had a good finish to the end of last year, and going to Gold Coast to have a pretty ordinary defence is my thinking. Look, maybe he's a shot to earn some games, but certainly there's other alternatives if he doesn't play early on. But at this stage with the rookies, I've gone with more those that I believe will be high scorers. So, and then I'll adjust accordingly if others aren't selected. So I guess that's my rookie methodology, if you like. I also did give strong consideration to Nick Caulfield, but yeah, look, pricier than I'd like. And for AFL Fantasy, look, he hasn't put up huge AFL Fantasy numbers in the past. So given that, he narrowly missed. But if he was priced the same as, say, a Dan Curtin, I'd probably have him ahead of. would be my personal view. Onto the mids. So I've got here 4 definite premium mids. So Merritt has the performances on the board from the past. Steele underpriced, Miller underpriced, Walsh underpriced. That's simply why I've got them in there. You'll have to let me know at home whether they managed to return to their previous peak scoring levels. I'm hopeful they can, given they're in my team at the moment. But if any of them are injured or if they're unlikely to return to their previous heights, look, you'll have to let me know at home, because certainly for premiums, I don't necessarily follow them as closely as I would with, say, the rookies or the cheap or medium price types. They're more the ones that interest me personally, whereas with the premiums, I just assume, they'll back it up year on year. There's no reason to sort of follow them for fantasy purposes, for me at least. So Simkin, look, underpriced. He was really the last picked for the purposes of this team. If I could have gone to a higher priced mid, I would. But yeah, simply because he's underpriced, look, I can sort of justify putting him in there. In terms of the rookies, you've got Harley, Reid, McKercher, Sanders. So we'll have to see if they're all round 1 picked. Reid, I have no idea where he's going to play. If West Coast is smart, it'll be across half-back. But yeah, look, maybe he plays some mid, maybe he plays some forward. He's just that versatile. But you're looking at an impact player right here who, should have a very good season 1. But yeah, I do hope, as with the likes of Sheasel and Dacos in the last 2 years, he starts across half-back, because West Coast will have another hard year, to be realistic. McKercher, look, he can play inside-outside. Racks up big numbers, and I think he'll do good things for North Melbourne. I think he'll be another ripper of a pick out of their recent drafts, and I'll say the same of Sanders for the Dogs. And look, with Bailey Smith hurt, maybe that means there's possible midfield chances for Sanders this year. So fingers crossed he can play and get that opportunity from round 1. Jai Clark, don't know how his health is, whether he's going to be best 22, no idea. But assuming he's going to be a regular midfielder for Geelong, who I'm going to assume are going to look to go a bit younger, given they sort of prematurely retired Isaac Smith. I do think they'll look to a bit more youth. So I think Jai Clark could be a regular, and if he's a regular mid, he'll score pretty well as a recent high pick who can find the footy to a reasonable level. I'm not going to say elite, but reasonable enough, being a sort of genuine mid. Jeremy Sharp, we'll have to see where he plays, but I think whether he's wing, whether he's halfback, whatever the case may be, I think he's got genuine chances to play, and if he does, he'll make you some money. In the rucks, I've gone with Gawn and Grundy. Fair sort of combination. But with Gawn, I reckon his numbers are a bit under what they should be, given that he did play some games sharing the ruck minutes with Grundy last year. So I do think Gawn is slightly underpriced there as a result. And with Grundy, having been asked to play forward, share the ruck minutes, he's severely underpriced. He should be one of the top sort of, if he was playing full ruck minutes, he'd be a top probably 5 price type and top 5 average type. So Grundy looks to be substantial value and was certainly my first picked ruck, particularly given the price point. Finbar Malay, look, just sort of a filler, I suppose. We'll have to see if anyone else is likely to play, but for me at this stage, look, that's sufficient. Being North Melbourne, I'll assume they'll have a number of Sunday games, given they're not sort of a contender or anything, and he's a few years older as well, so maybe he gets a chance. I don't know. We'll have to see. We'll have to see how the standings are at North Melbourne. In terms of my forwards, so McRae, severely underpriced. Hopefully he gets more midfield minutes with Smith out for the year, as I understand it. So, he just needs those midfield minutes. He's been poorly utilised over the last year, and hopefully that improves. If he doesn't become a full-time mid again, I hope he gets a trade to somewhere where he can be utilised as a full-time mid ultimately, because that's where he plays his best footy, it's fair to say. Sam Flanders, after actually becoming a midfielder and getting those midfield minutes at AFL level like he always should have, he put up big numbers and as a result became a really good footballer for AFL purposes. So I called it a year ago that he'd break out if he actually got it midfield minutes at AFL levels. So it's great to see him actually get that reward and that opportunity as a mid, which is really great because, look, he can play forward, but ultimately, look, for fantasy purposes, he's going to find it and sort of score more as that mid. That's where he plays his best footy. Zach Fisher, I've got him in conditional on him playing across halfback for North Melbourne. I look at their defence as a real weak spot, and look, given sort of key retirements and all that, no Zeeble anymore, no Aaron Hall. I'm making the assumption here that Zach Fisher was brought in with that purpose, and look, if he plays that role, I think he certainly improves on his average, and we'll have to see if he becomes a premium. So he's one to watch. I'm sort of non-committal on sort of saying he'll be in my team for round one, but certainly for now he's in there. Elijah Sardis, huge accumulator. In the NAB League, he was averaging 35 disposals a game. So assuming he's healthy, has a good preseason, if he's going to play some combination of mid and wing, I don't see why he shouldn't be in my team. I think he's going to make a lot of money, and he could become a premium forward by the end of the year for fantasy purposes. Not going to say he's going to be necessarily looking like the best player from his draft, but in terms of racking up the footy, there's few better. So Sardis should be one on your watch list, certainly. James Jordan, look, he's there mostly on the basis of he's been a sub a lot for Melbourne, so if Sydney are actually going to utilise him as a regular, his average should, in theory, improve, so at least that's the basis he's in my team. Sean Manor, he's an absolute weapon, can find the footy, hit the scoreboard at bulk. In the grand final in the VFL, he kicked, I can't remember how many goals it was. It might have been like 7 or 8 or some silly number like that. And he was racking up the footy as well. He plays sort of your half forward. He can play through the mids as well. So, and Geelong have done really well over the years picking mature ages. So whether it's a Tim Kelly, whether it's a Tom Stewart, whether it's a Tom Atkins, they just keep finding these really good mature ages, and I think Sean Manor is another one. Not going to say he's going to be Geelong's best player as Tom Stewart has become, or the best general defender in the comp even, or probably, at least at the time that he was at the club, Tim Kelly, their best mid. Not going to say he's going to reach those heights, but I think he's going to be a productive footballer, would be my reasonable expectation. And then on the bench, I've gone Nick Watson and Zane Dersma. So, look, I think they're sufficient for bench spots. Don't necessarily want them on the field. I do have a slight preference to Watson. He's more advanced than Dersma. But with Watson, he'll probably play forward pocket, so that'll probably limit his upside a little. And with a Dersma, he's that sort of high-flying half forward. So, look, he'll find a bit of the ball. And for fantasy purposes, he's fine. But yeah, for me, they're probably more bench than on field, ideally. But it depends if you go more premium heavy. If you go more premium heavy, sure, you can have some of these types on the field that I've got benched. And my last spot is Jackson Binns. So he was racking it up in the VFL. Huge disposal numbers, huge mark numbers. He plays across a wing, so I think he'll receive opportunities this year. So we'll have to see if he gets picked round one. So that's my team. Give me some feedback. Let me know if anyone's out for this season. I don't follow really any sort of like AFL media or anything. I'm just purely a game watcher. So any preseason reports, this guy's injured, this guy's been out for a period of time, whatever alarm bells I should be aware of that I'm evidently not based on the guys I've selected, please let me know. That would substantially help my fantasy team. And I'll film immediately after this my Supercoach team, and you can expect to see it 24 hours after, just to give YouTube a bit of time to sort of process things and help its algorithm and not overwhelm you at home with too much content at once. But yeah, anyway, folks, see you on the next video.